What's up, people? We're up here at Sorinex HQ. It is Wednesday night. We're getting ready to get us in a night session with this beautiful base camp power rack that it now lights up, man. As you can see, man, this joint's just dope. So we're gonna use nothing but the implements that are on the rack. So it's got jammer arms, and it's basically an Uber package. It's got some other upgrades, which we'll just kind of talk about as we start flowing through the session. But let's get to this work. All right, guys, so we're popping this session off with neutral grip pull-ups, and we are using the indexing chin-up bar. So you guys can see it right there. It's got these two handles, which actually articulate in multiple different angles. So you pop them up, spin them, and then you can get a different angle. And then they also slide out, so you can choose whatever width that you want to go for any type pull-up, whatever grip that you choose, whether it's neutral grip like what we're doing here, or if you go with an angled grip, or if you just go with your standard wide grip. You can kind of decide and manipulate how far apart your hands are when you're doing the pull-ups. But right now, we're rocking 4 sets of 10 to start off with. So we're gonna keep working. All right, guys, so we just wrapped up neutral grip pull-ups. Again, we went 4 sets of 10 right there. I just wanted to give you guys another view of the indexing chin-up bar and kind of what I was talking about on how to manipulate the grip and the width. So these pieces right here will slide out like so, just like that, or vice versa, they can slide in back to a closer grip if we wanted to. And then to manipulate the grip, then these handles right here, they push up, and they'll spin, and then lock into another angle for you. So push this one up, spin it, lock it into the same angle, and then always want to give it a little jiggle just to make sure that it seats itself. And then you got whatever grip that you want, and then you also got whatever width that you want after you've manipulated the handles, and then just get to that work. All right, so now we're gonna move on to one of my favorite movements, man. We're gonna go TBar rows. What we're actually gonna use though is gonna be the landmine, and then we're gonna put a barbell in there, and then we're also gonna use what we call it Sorinex meat hooks to make the actual handle. So let's get to work. All right, so just to show you guys a little bit more of the TBar Row setup, we got the meat hooks that we're using as handles right here. So you want to make sure that the two hook ends are facing each other once you wrap them around the barbell, and then that'll give you that nice T-bar handle. The same as if you were using like a chinning triangle and the bar was just resting in there. If you were making a T-bar row, if you didn't have meat hooks. And then the end of the barbell is just gonna go into the landmine right there. All right, so we just wrapped up T-bar rows right there. We ended up going 4 sets, 12 reps a set. Now we're getting ready to move on to some lat pull downs with the jammer arms. But before we do that, just gonna remind you guys again, the setup right there was landmine and meat hooks. And then we also had to use these Recon lights right here. They're so a little bit thicker, almost a really clean version of a high temp bumper, but you can't quite get as many on. Pretty much your max on any standard barbell is gonna be 4 of those bad boys. So try to keep the reps high, try to keep the form nice and clean. Big squeeze at the top, but now we're gonna go on the lat pull down, so let's keep working. Alright guys, so basically for the lat pull down setup with adjustable jammer arms, just want to move the bracket down right here. I got it to where you can see the number 28, so if you got number size, roll it down to 28, lock it in place, and then you're just going to take, I have 2 green bands. One is looped around the sleeve of the jammer handle, and then the other is anchored to the pull-up option on the front and the top of this rack. But that's basically just how I set up the lat pull down. And then you can either sit on the ground or you can sit on a bench. Right here I'm sitting on a bench. And then just the same thing applies whenever you're doing any other lat pull down. Right here, man, you want to begin to pull with your elbows. Try to take the bicep out of it as much as possible. Obviously, we're not going to really be able to achieve 300 pounds right here, and plus we don't have thigh pads to hold us down. So you really want to concentrate on that contraction at the bottom. So even if that means like holding it at that bottom position for like 2 counts, big squeeze, just to really push blood into the lats. Alright guys, so we just finished up lat pull downs with the adjustable jammer arms right here. Now we're going to move on to a chest supported row, or what most people call a seal row. We're going to use the utility seat in combination with the full safety spotters here on this rack to make that station. Also, we're going to leave this setup right here. We're going to come back and hit a different variation of lat pull downs in just a second. So that's just one really good way to think about utilizing your time in the right manner, especially if you're at a space where you don't have a bunch of machines to roll through. And you're also kind of crunched on time, is having something that's set up that's going to work for multiple different exercises or multiple different variations. So when we come back to this, it's not going to require the entire setup, which even for me at this point, it doesn't take a lot of time. But for somebody that's just figuring out their rack and how everything moves, it can take up a little bit more time than what you want. So we're going to leave that right there, and then we'll come back to it in a second. But let's get this work on these rows. Alright guys, so just to talk you through this simple little setup right here, we move the full safety spotters up to a high enough position that when I put the utility seat across, that I can still get a full range of motion when I pick that barbell up from under there for the chest supported row. A couple things you just want to make sure you always do is whenever you're using the full safety spotter, any type of capacity to attach anything to it, you want to put a hitch pin in the back or the front, or you can do both. If you got enough hitch pins, but always want to secure it on one side or the other. And then that little cotter pin that is leashed to every hitch pin that we at Sorinex make, that needs to be secured in the back too, to keep the hitch pin from coming out of the hole. So if I pull on any of the hitch pins that I have using in this setup, I can't pull them out because that cotter pin is in there and it's securing it. So we got the full safety spotters on, we got a hitch pin in each one of them to secure those guys. And then we slap the utility seat across it, and then we secure that on each end with the same hitch pin, making sure that we locked it in place, and we have it at a height that's going to allow us to still row and get a full range of motion, so that when my arms are locked out, the bar is not touching the ground and stopping me from getting that full range of motion. And this again is most popularly known as a seal row, simply because my entire body is prone across that utility seat. I still just consider it a chest supported row. And then one of the things that I like to think about here is how the bar is traveling from point A to point B. And that's going to determine which part of my back I'm going to get the most activation in. So for me right now, I'm trying to pull that bar right in line with my nipples because I want to get a little bit more upper back work right here than lower lats. So let's get to this work. Alright guys, so we just wrapped up seal rows right there. We ended up going 3 sets, 10 reps per set. Now we're going to move back to the adjustable jammer arms right here. And we're going to get a chest supported lat pull down this time. Just a couple things to note on your jammer arms. You got two spots that are always secured to the rack. Number one is going to be your pop pin. And you also got your pressure plate on the back. You want to make sure that whenever you're moving this guy, that you have 2 hands on this piece if you unsecure either one of these. Now, the pop pin is what's going to insert a little piece into the rack side and totally prevent this bracket from moving up and down, but that doesn't mean that you need to only have one hand on it when you're moving it. Still, we just want to make sure that you're as safe as you possibly can be when you're moving that bracket, because this is made out of the same exact steel that your rack side is made out of. So it's not a marshmallow, you know. So it's going to take a little bit of effort and a lot of attention paid, you know, to prevent yourself from getting hurt or anything like that. So again, pop pin, pressure plate on the back. You need to make sure that both of those are secure before you use it. And then if either one of them is disengaged, you need to make sure you got two hands on the bracket to move it. But we're gonna move back into another movement with these guys that are already set up. So all we gotta do is roll our bench right here and get to work. So let's get it. Alright guys, so that wraps up chest supported lat pull downs right there. We ended up going 3 sets, 15 reps a pop. And just another thing on that, man, you just want to always make sure that you kind of check your bands. Anytime you're using resistance bands in any type way, man, just make sure you check them for wear and tear. Obviously you don't want to put a band on there that's all frayed and looking like it's about to pop at any moment, you know. So just make sure you double check those before you put them on. Just kind of look out for yourself. You know, you don't want to be on one of them gym fail pages smacking yourself in the face with a band or whatever, you know. So just double check those. And also a really cool thing that you can play around with whenever you set the jammer arms up for a lat pull down is the position of the handle. Then you can kind of change or manipulate, you know, the load pattern of the pull so you can hit a different part of your back. Right there I went with a reverse grip, and then I had the handles choked up a little bit on the jammer arms just for a much different feel, man. But it was really awesome. It was A1 for me right there. But so now we're gonna roll into our finisher right here. We're gonna go pitched pull-ups, and this is just kind of a way to, it's like an assisted pull-up in a way. You'll see it kind of takes the lower body out of it, and you're not pulling up as much weight. You get a really good stretch on the lats. But let's finish this workout out. Alright guys, so we just wrapped up that session with pitch pull-ups. We ended up going 3 sets, each set pretty much till failure. Like I said, it's kind of like an assisted pull-up because our feet are kicked up on the bench, so it takes a little bit of the lower body weight out that you'd be pulling up. Plus it gives you a really unique stretch at the bottom. I really like those a lot. Plus I kind of just suck at pull-ups in general, so those kind of help me in my journey to be a pull-up master. But anyway, man, overall solid session on just the base camp rack itself. This is pretty much an Uber package with the additional add of the adjustable jammers right here. So we really got it in, used a lot of implements that come standard on there for a really solid back workout. Plus, you know, this thing looks wicked with these LEDs, man. And I've actually seen a couple guys that have just gotten them off Amazon and did it to their own rack. But it's a nice little touch, especially out here at night, outside. It just kind of adds to the vibes, man. But as always, man, y'all stay grinding. We'll holler at you next time. I'm out.
Cap on, and I got racks on. And I produce that diesel, I can put Shaq on.